Hey there, creatives. I have a huge favor to ask. If you're a longtime listener and you haven't rated or reviewed or subscribed to the podcast, please go ahead and do so wherever you listen to the show. It will help us uh, spread the message of the work of all these amazing creative arts therapists that come on the show so that other people get exposure to the amazing experiential work that we do. I know, and I would greatly appreciate it too, of course. I am really excited to share this episode with you this week. And I'm talking with Leah Guzman, who is an art therapist, and she's been an art therapist almost 20 years. And she's amazing. She's just always super kind and um, warm and just generous. And I don't know, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan, and I've been following her work for a long time, even before I started the podcast. And her artwork is beautiful. And I don't know, I'm a fan of her and her message. And today we're going to be talking about her latest book and the oracle deck that she created to accompany the book. And so I hope you enjoy this conversation.
The Creative Psychotherapist is the official podcast of the Creative Clinicians Corner, a practice building resource for creative psychotherapists. TCP Podcast is the cast for creative, expressive, and experiential focused psychotherapists curious to learn how to design, build, and scale a thriving private practice. Your host, Raina Lombardi, interviews successful therapists about the tools and strategies they have used to develop creative, focused practices. They also talk about the products, services, and side hustles they have developed using their knowledge and creativity to enhance their therapy practices, make a greater impact in their communities, and diversify their income streams. Welcome. Now here's your host, Raina Lombardi.
Thanks for listening to the Creative Psychotherapist podcast. I'm your host, Rena Lombardi, and I'm very, very excited to welcome Leah Guzman. And if you're a listener of the show, you might remember Leah. She was on episode 19 of the podcast when we first started in 2020. And she had shared a bit about building an online art therapy practice. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about her new book and an oracle deck that she has created with her artwork, which is really beautiful. And Leah has been supporting creatives with healing and manifesting their desires, utilizing art media through art therapy services and coaching. And she's written 3 art therapy books: The Art of Healing and Manifesting, Creative Exercises to Living an Abundant Life, which we're going to be talking about today, Essential Art Therapy Exercises, Effective Techniques to Manage Anxiety, Depression, and PTSD, and a children's book, Rad as SMAD, which I highly recommend. I have a copy of that and use that with kids in my practice, and the little boys love it. And her signature program, Art of Healing and Manifesting, supports creatives by healing any emotional wounds and transforming energy to be your most authentic self. She focuses on the law of attraction, spirituality, and cognitive behavioral art therapy techniques. She's also the founder of the monthly art making group, Creative Soul Society. It's an honor for her to have helped thousands of individuals find more joy, wealth, and peace in their lives through her books, individual services, and group programs. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you, Raina. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you too. So, for folks that are listening that might not be familiar with manifesting, can you maybe start there? Like, How does that play into the work of healing and the work of therapy?
That's a great question. Yeah, I love that word manifesting because we're always manifesting as creatives, creators. We are consciously or unconsciously creating our lives.
Mhm.
And I mean that by, we can be intentional with what we want to create. And that's what I teach my clients is to be intentional with your energy and how you take care of your life. But there's also times where we want things to happen in our lives or want things in our lives, and they might not be coming to you as quickly as you want. And a lot of that comes through because there's some healing that needs to happen. There's some lessons that need to be learned. And I think it's a beautiful process of kind of shining the light in those areas of your life and do some discovering because a lot of times in those wounds or in your history and your experiences they need to be looked at a little deeper. And when you do that, that's when the magic occurs of when you can get your energy into alignment and feel good, and then that manifesting, get into that flow, so that manifesting your desires, the things that you want to happen in your life to happen. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. And so, how long have you been kind of cultivating that in your own life? I mean, obviously, you're a creative and you're an artist. And so you've been engaged in creativity. But at what point did you realize, like, okay, I'm creating more than just art here? And I have this ability to manifest things into my life that um, really are part of my process of joy and happiness and um, just living a great life.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a creator. And ever since I was little, I've always been making art. And I've been an art therapist for like 18 years. I can't believe it. It's like, what? I know. It's like, where does
Long
the time
time.
go? But there was a kind of like a shifting point for me. I've always been into yoga as well, like yoga and the chakras and learning about, taking care of the body. I got into doing yoga when I was like 18. But it wasn't until I feel like I had an awakening, more of like an epiphany with when I had my kids. When I had my two
Mm,
children, they were small, and that's when I wrote SMAD, the children's book, is because I needed to like get back into my own art. I was actually having a more of a burnout episode, dark night of the soul, where I was just giving of me, my time. I would say yes to everybody, people pleaser, recovering people pleaser. Yeah, so it was during that time where I needed to get some support for myself. I actually went and saw an art therapist and needed to get back into my art. And that's when the book came about. But a lot of what came out of my sessions with this person, guiding me was that I really wanted to do my art more, like more
mhm,
of my paintings and really look at, what my desires were, to have my own studio, to create my own space, to put my work out into the world. So a lot of that, what I was noticing with the process is like, wow, I would draw things out, even the new house that I wanted that had more space and a studio and all of those things. I um, was able to manifest it within like 6 months. And it was just because I was healing. Like I was, really looking at my desires, looking at, what I wanted, and then taking actions, right? Saying, okay,
mhm,
well, this is it. Then these are the baby steps, and let me just follow the signs and do it. So it was kind of like I was doing it for myself, but then I was also seeing it with my clients' work of people that I was working with, of if I was working with someone that was really, really anxious, a lot of reds would come into their drawings or their paintings. And I was associating with the chakras, with the
mm,
color frequency of the chakras.
mhm,
And then making that connection, I was like, wow, they are experiencing this. And then let's use some grounding techniques, whether I was using clay or just helping them do more red paintings, more red, so that because it's actually, it's a healing color. It's like you're craving it and
mhm,
you're creating about it. And so just finding those connections in my art and helping other people heal in that way, and finding out what their desires, but then going through that path of healing so that they could get there. So I was kind of like connecting the dots, like for myself, but then also for other people. So that's kind of where actually the seeds were planted for creating this book, of knowing that when I was getting into my own alignment and I was helping other people get into their alignment, things would start to flow really easily. So that's kind of that's how I set this book up. It's filled with art exercises, but it's also based with the law of attraction techniques. It's based with the chakras. So it starts with the crown, of like having an idea, what it is that you want, because I think that everybody has these desires, right? It's not like, I used to feel guilty for wanting more than I had, because I was like, well, I have a house already. Why am I complaining? But it's okay. Like I had to be acceptive, that there was more things in life that I wanted. And so, just being open to it, and then just learning the system of the chakras of how that energy flows. So it's like you have the desire, you can dream big, allow yourself to use your imagination of like, what could this be? And then speaking about it, like telling people about it. That's like that throat chakra, is like, actually expressing yourself and communicating. And then going down into that heart chakra of making relationships, connecting with people, and bringing in that love, to make that desire happen. And then, just bringing that energy down to that solar plexus of believing in yourself, and then having that confidence to like take those actions that need to happen, and then bringing it down to that sacral chakra, which is the joy of have fun while you're doing what you're doing. And then bringing it down even further is like manifesting it through that root, is like bringing it down to reality. But to do that, you got to have that structure, right? You got to have that self-care. You got to take care of your body. You got to take care of your environment, your home, your family, your basic needs, all that kind of good stuff, so that everything can like go back up, right? So that energy of up and down, that flow happening.
The flow.
So that's what it's based on. It's getting into the flow. And so it has exercise, like creative exercises, so that you can get into that flow. And it's specific for whatever your desire is, because we all have different desires. Someone might want to write a book, or someone might want to have a solo show, or a private practice, or whatever that is, right?
Yeah. So for listeners that might not be as familiar with law of attraction and being in alignment, can you explain a little bit about what those things are? I think more people are familiar with it, but I still think that there are a lot of people that don't quite know what those things are.
Yeah, that's great. It fascinates me because I feel that everything is energy. Like I really do believe that everything in this universe is energy. And so the law of attraction, it's they call it a law because it's like everything is a frequency, and then whatever your frequency is what is going to be what you attract. So it's almost like, I always like to think of it as an experiment, or even like a mind game of, if you were desiring something, pretend like it's already here. Like energetically, what does that feel like? Right? What does it feel like in your space? Like coming into like your best self, or, what does that best self look like, feel like? What do you dress like? Like show up as that best self if that's what you're desiring. If you want that new car, like go test drive that new car, right? And then let the universe give you the little details of how to make that happen. And that's why I always think of it as an experiment of like connecting the dots. And I've had lots of fun stories of, I love making, vision boards, and I love doing a lot of art around that, just because it's so fun to see how they manifest. Like I remember one time I wanted to take my family on a ski trip, and I kept thinking, oh gosh, this looks real expensive. When I started looking it up,
Yes.
you talk yourself out of things. But I put me and I found this picture of this couple, like cheersing with champagne, like on the side of a mountain, you get to tell they're like, it's snowing, and, it's just like, oh, that's what I want, So I put that on my vision board, and it was so funny. Like within the next week, I was like on Amazon shopping, and then like these snow boots popped up out of nowhere. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just buy them, even though I don't need them in Miami, Florida, but I bought them. And then like a day later, it was the craziest thing. A friend of mine who lives in Aspen calls me up and she's like, you guys need to come visit me. Like I get all these like discounts and all these ski resort places and you can just stay with us. I was like, okay, this is getting like super easy. Like, how can I say no to this? I'm like, we're coming. So it's just like you don't know how it's all going to work out, but it's like it's trusting. It's a lot of trust there of that you're being guided. So I say the universe a lot, but it could be God, it could be something bigger than yourself. But it's basically surrendering, and then also being able to be open to follow the signs and being okay not knowing exactly how everything's going to work out. But I think that's the fun part is just that's why I like to think of it as an experiment and just following along and
Yeah, it's
seeing
like
how
a
it
choose
plays
your own
out.
adventure.
Yeah.
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 I think I've heard some people talk about it where they kind of think it's, really magical thinking. And the way I kind of interpret it, it's not magical. It's like intentional. You were using that word, intentional, but it's intentional of setting your goal, setting your desire out there, really allowing yourself the time to have fun, to muse about it, to imagine about it, to create about it, to journal, to draw, paint, whatever about it. And then the other piece, like you were saying, the surrendering, I'm letting go of the control of how this happens for me. And I'm just going to accept that the right way of how it's going to show up is going to come to me. And there you go. Then it happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's, I mean, even like in, when I work with clients, that's part of the process, right? That's one of the first things, like, where are we going? Where do you want to go? Like, where does this, I'm just thinking going travel, but no, but like, what is it that you want to bring into your life? Is it like you're showing up differently? Is it that you want new relationships? You want what, what it is. And like, we have to start somewhere, right? So let's go to that end result. It's always thinking from the end. It's like you start there, and then it's kind of doing that discovery underneath work. What are the blocks? What are, what's the subconscious? What's going on underneath the surface that could be stopping you?
Right. The core beliefs,
Yeah.
which we address in CBT type work, right? Your core belief is, I don't think that I'm worthy. Anytime an opportunity shows up, then you're not really going to be able to accept it or take the risk. Or the fear might stop you, right? Fear might have stopped you from buying those boots, and then, you might not have gone.
Yeah. It would have been like just giving yourself excuses. So yeah, that's what I think is beautiful about therapy, about especially about art therapy too, is I think books are great because there are kind of like self-help guides, and they kind of like they give you like a taster, but if continue getting stuck in a place, it's because of the subconscious beliefs, like those core beliefs, and you can't see it, you're not aware, right?
Yeah.
So it's something you need, that reflective distancing. Someone to say, hey, did you even realize you just said that? Because there's so much power in your words, the powers that what you're saying to yourself, what you're saying to others. And sometimes you don't see it. You're like, really? I said that?
Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting down to do an exercise where I was creating my ideal schedule with the intent of I'm going to start to work with my current schedule and compare it to the ideal and start, working towards that. And what I realized was I started filling out my ideal schedule every single day within the same like hours and stuff that I'm currently working. And I thought, well, I'm just like trading out one thing for another. That's not actually ideal. That's not what I want at all. But had I not actually stopped and done the exercise, I don't think it would have clicked that I was having some limiting beliefs, or like old beliefs about how much I have to work, right? like, in order for me to really be of like value, or um to like who am I to say like I can only work 3 days a week, right? Like those kinds of things were coming up. So I have the old one, and I made another ideal schedule where I trimmed everything down so that it is only 3 days a week. And um, there's lots of flexibility in the schedule because that's really what I want. I want to have more time. Um,
Beautiful. Good for
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that feel to have that time and the flexibility?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It feels so good, right? When you have like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I have a day in the week where it's open and there's lots of flexibility, and
Mhm.
I can do things for myself.
Mhm.
It's great. But without sitting down with the intentionality of creating that, right? That's one of the things I want to manifest for myself, is the ideal schedule.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
I
here because you, right? You made
well,
it.
I made it. Now I have to like carve my current schedule down to the ideal schedule. So that's going to mean
Okay.
making some major changes in like what I'm doing in my practice and stuff like that. But I'm working on that. So it's like
Yeah.
a titration. But I feel like it relates to what you were saying, that
Mhm.
without maybe taking those steps to engage in those exercises, we're not aware of the things that are holding us back from taking action in our lives that will create the life that we want. Right.
Definitely. Actually, one of the exercises in the book, and we do the exercises in the Creative Soul Society, it's like my membership group, is to create your ideal day. That's actually one of the meetups for
Ooh,
May, is doing a visual of what is your ideal day and how does that set up? What are you going to be
I
doing?
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Ideal day, sunrise
Mhm.
walk at the beach.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
coffee. um,
Yeah.
Good stuff. So tell me a little bit about the Oracle deck and how it goes along with the book that you created.
Sure. Well, I had mentioned that the book was the chapters are set up from the chakras of from the crown going down to the root. So the deck is set up the same way. The what you do is you choose a card. Um, you can shuffle the deck, and then you think about what it is that you desire. Like, what is it that you want to bring in, or what do you need guidance with, right?
Mhm.
So you can just like stop and think about that. And then the cards are set up just like the chakras. So it goes
They're
from
beautiful.
a messages from the crown all the way down to the root. And then the cards either have an affirmation on there, or they have it'll give you like a to do of what you need to do,
Mm.
or maybe something you need to just think about. So whatever the message is, it would be guiding you.
Here's a word from our sponsor. This week's episode is sponsored by Florida Art Therapy Services, a small group art therapy practice offering telehealth and in office individual and group therapy services, as well as continuing education and professional development and workshops for therapists. Florida Art Therapy Services has multiple continuing education opportunities coming up in 2022. We'll be offering our signature 12-hour qualified supervisor training for licensed mental health folks in Florida. That would be the LCSW, LMFT, and LMHCs. That'll be offered on May 22nd and 23rd. This course has all the things that you need to be able to get started offering qualified supervision to folks pursuing licensure in Florida. And we make it fun and interactive and break it up with lots of experientials throughout the training. And we're going to also be offering a new course. It's a 6-hour supervision in art therapy course specifically for art therapists in need of the continuing education hours to provide supervision for colleagues pursuing their ATR. And this will be offered on June 3rd. All these trainings are online via Zoom, so you can take them no matter where you are. And we're also going to be offering the EPICS visual-based career assessment training, which is based on the Holland codes and was developed by art therapist Karen Anderson Vignon. It's going to be a 2.5-hour CE event, and you'll be able to take the assessment and learn how you can use this dynamic tool with clients. And it's going to be taught by Karen herself. If you want to learn more about EPICS, check out episode 62 of the podcast, which features a conversation with her and myself all about how she developed the assessment tool and how she's utilizing it to help people find their ideal career. And if you're interested in learning more about these or any other continuing education opportunities that Florida Art Therapy Services has to offer, head on over to the website www.floridaarttherapyservices.com. In the menu bar, you'll just click on continuing education and there'll be a drop down and you can choose from the variety of trainings that we offer. CEUs provided by Florida Art Therapy Services are offered by CE provider number 50-21407 by the Florida Board of Clinical Social Work, Marriage and Family Therapy and Mental Health Counseling, and that expires on March 31st, 2023. And that's one of the clauses that we have to include when we're promoting the trainings that we offer. So head on over to the website again, floridaarttherapyservices.com, and click on continuing education, and you'll find all the continuing ed offerings that we have. Now back to the show.
So do you want to think of something and I pull a card for you?
Okay, do I need to share what I'm thinking about?
Oh, that's up to you. I don't know what you're thinking about. I can pull it and tell you, and then you can think if you want to share.
Okay. All right, let's do that.
Okay. Okay, so I have them out. I guess you can't see them, but
that's okay.
Okay. So you tell me when to stop, and I'm going to pull one.
Stop. Right about there.
You got a yellow card, which is the solar chakra, and it says illuminate. Illuminate your shadow. We all have a dark side. It's important to explore parts of yourself that aren't that nice. Nothing goes away until it teaches us what we need to know.
Excellent.
So you can share or not share. That's up to you.
Well, I was thinking about, I really need to set some boundaries around going on vacation and like taking a nice chunk of time off. And so I'm not sure how that relates to my shadow side, but maybe it's the perception that if I do that I'm not considering others and others' needs. But I'm sure
you feel like it's maybe
more.
Like a selfish thing. Like
yeah.
Like you're being selfish if you do that.
Mm-hmm. I know that that's not true, right? I know that's not. Right. It's more the opposite, but sometimes it can feel that way.
Right. And it's really like your perception of your own shadow, of you thinking that you're selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you put the light to it, if you illuminate it, you're like, that's not even true. Like that's even a false, right? Like you were just saying, like, this is false. This is self-care. This is boundaries. This is right, the logical side. So yeah, I think that's really cool. And I think it does match it, right? When you illuminate that part of
right. The perception of the selfishness. It would be selfish for you to take time off for yourself and do that for yourself. But it really isn't. It's necessary and important, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to open a lot of space for you so that you can restructure your schedule too.
Yes, restructure, have more time for creative projects. That's the goal. Yeah. I think it's similar to what you
Yay.
were saying, like you there's a pull always to be creative. And when you don't have that outlet that is really calling to you, when that's missing, everything else really starts to feel heavy and difficult and big, for lack of a better word, big, but it's bigger than what it really is, but it's just that felt sense of it, the weight of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a stuck, heavy
Mhm.
energy that
Yeah.
needs to move, right?
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And it's an action card. So definitely take some action.
I will. I will. That's on my agenda for the weekend, is to start doing some planning for trips and carving that out. So it will be
Oh,
happening.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
so the cards can be used as like that, like as a prompt.
Mm-hmm.
They can be used in sessions. I pull cards for my clients in sessions, or even if so on one side of the card has the rainbow, but the other side has my artwork. So another
Mm,
way that could be used as an inspiration for, like, say if you're wanting to just do a drawing or do a painting, you're like, well, where should I start? I just need some inspiration image. You could pick one and be like, okay, that's where I'm going to start for today. So whatever is being called. So that's another way that you can use
very
the deck.
cool. So from like a opposite side of things, how did you where did you go to have these made? Like how did you find the, you know, manufacturer to create the card deck? They're beautiful. Obviously they're your images, but they're really, really well done.
Thanks. Well, okay, I had to buy a iPad. And I bought an iPad just so that I can get Procreate, which is a program in the iPad,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that I can create the imagery for both sides, because I wanted the text and I wanted, to put some artwork on the back. So I designed them, and then I had to look into places to print, and not a lot of people do these kinds of cards. But I had a good friend whose husband is a printer. He's a local in Miami, and he did a wonderful job. I love them. I love what he did. So it was kind of in a big experiment. As it took me. I mean, I've been working on this deck for over a year to put this together. Obviously, the paintings have been painting forever, but yeah, so it was a lot of experimenting of like the thickness, and that I wanted gold trim, and
Mm-hmm.
all those little details. But it's still an experiment, because I did it a Kickstarter just to see who would be interested, because the thing is, when you create a deck, it's not like a print on demand, like books are printed on
Right.
demand. So decks, you actually have to buy like large quantities at a time. So if I was going to invest some money into it, I was like, I'm gonna make sure if people are interested. So the cool thing is, I did the Kickstarter, and I sold the 100 decks that I
Wow,
created,
that's
which is
amazing.
great. Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So now I'm looking into doing another round, but I think I'm going to have to go and do it at another place, because they only do small batches.
Mm,
So looking at other places, and I have another friend that been very successful with her creating her Oracle deck. So she gave me her people who make large quantities, and the price is the same as the small batch, from a local printer. So yeah, so it's a lot of research. And let me tell
mm.
you, it's never just push a button and then it's there. It's even going to this other person was like, oh, well, we need them this. And I'm like, are you serious? I feel like I got to do them all over again, just because, everyone has their specific technique, like
Oh,
thing. Oh my gosh.
yes.
So yeah, so now I got to go back and I have to do a lot of tweaking, but I know that it's not like I went through all this work to just stop. It's
Right,
like,
right.
because it's like, well, I don't have any more. But then it's like, when you look at the numbers, I'm like, it makes more sense to go this new route. And so it's always something, right? I'll be working
Yes.
on that for a little bit on the next one.
So mostly like the software, like the sizing and all of that stuff so that they can print
Yeah.
them.
They needed more
Yeah.
bleed room. They needed, I don't know, I sent it to them RJB, they need CYMK, or, there's all these like little tweaks that need to be, I don't
Oh
know,
my
done.
goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wild, wild. So you're totally out. When will they be back in stock, do you think?
well, okay, I literally have like 5 boxes left. But I have, soon as I send them to them, it'll take probably like 2 months to get here.
That's
So
not
yeah,
bad.
yeah. So I just have to actually create it. Like I said, I have to do those
Hmm.
tweaks, and then push the button. Is this okay? Yeah, and then they'll be able to get in. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been well received, so I'm really happy about that, because I was just been promoting it and putting it out there and putting it out there. And I mean, I love using them, so I'm glad to hear that other people are getting out of it. It's fun
Yeah.
that when people pick a card, they're like, oh my gosh, it does relate to my life.
Right. Yeah, it's awesome. I love cards. I have some cards that I use with kids, and they're like questions. Like, if I were choosing joy, what would I be choosing? But like questions that that get them thinking in a different way. And they're always like, I love using, there's like one card that's like, if I were being kind to my body today, what would I be doing? And I usually bring these to the kids on the crisis unit. And inevitably there's kids that are hurting themselves there. And they're always like, I don't want this card. Can I trade it? I don't want this card. I'm like, nope, that's your card. You need that card. what
Right.
what can you do
Right.
to be kind to your body today? But they
Yeah.
do, they like match up, and they can be really helpful.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So where can people find your book and your deck?
Well, they're both on my website, leahguzman.com. But they're also, the deck is, right now, I only have it on my website. Like I said, I only have a few left, but I'm keeping it there till I get a larger shipment in, and then I'll probably put that on Amazon. Um, the book is on Amazon as well.
Okay.
So it's like a Barnes and Noble and other places like regular bookstores. It's just on like the online version. So I mean, they can order the physical book. They're all like print on demand type of thing.
Oh,
So
cool. That's
yeah, so it's
awesome.
easy. Yeah.
Very easy. So you did
Ooh,
your
it's come
own
a long way.
publication with this one too.
Yeah, so I self-published this one. The last one I did through a publisher, but it's just so cool how technology is these days with this print on demand. I love it. I think it's just amazing that you don't have to store books and
Hmm.
mail them off. I love Amazon,
That's
let me tell you.
that is amazing. That's
Yeah.
really cool. It's all taken care of for you. So
Mhm.
if people, when you get to the point where you're selling your decks on Amazon, will they have copies to mail out? How does that work?
Well, I'm still looking into like them actually like printing. Like there are might be like one or two companies that actually do that, but as of right now, no, it would be if someone ordered it, I'd be shipping it out because I'm the buyer right now, and I'd be selling it out, so, or shipping it out. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Hmm.
So right now, that's, even if it went on Amazon, that it would still be that same. Yeah.
Very cool. But it's great that you have that option, right? Because you have control over your creative process and getting it out into the world. And which my understanding is when you work with a publisher, um, you don't get a whole lot in terms of like payment for your efforts, for all that you do to create that content. So self-publishing certainly seems way more, um, a way better return on your investment than going the publishing route.
Yeah. If there's something you're passionate about, um, it's definitely important. I actually, just because we're talking about like technical stuff and things, but I actually had to, I hired a team to help me put this together, because there's so much detail and I wanted it to look really professional.
It looks
When you,
amazing.
thank you. They did a great job. Yeah, of just, there's like typesetting, you have the editor, you have like all, there's like a lot of details that go in just creating a book. Um, so you don't want to just put something out there that hasn't had all those like steps, like you want it to look really clean. So yeah, so that was part of the process, but that's an investment too. But for me, I know that it's going to help so many people. It's going to be like a ripple effect
Mhm.
that it's like, this is something I can give to the world. Like,
Mhm.
I'm leaving the world in a better place if I'm putting it
Yeah.
out there.
And no, it's amazing. It's amazing. So, last thing I wanted to kind of chat with you about is the Creative Soul Society group that you have on Facebook that you've been kind of steadily growing over the past couple of years. Um, I know you had shared earlier that you meet and you create art in that group, but can you share a little bit more for listeners that might want to join? Like what that experience might be to be in the Creative Soul Society group.
Yeah. So I know, just to clarify a little bit. So I started with a free group. It's called the Creative Soul
Ah,
Online Retreat Group. So I think you're a part of that group.
that's the group I'm
Yes.
part of. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a totally free group. I started it several years ago, and it's been slowly growing. And I would do these Facebook Lives and these online retreats. I usually do them for a few days. And it's great because I just want people to get a little taste of like, what is art therapy, or what is, creating art with Leah? What does that look like? So I just want people to get a taster, right? So I'll do every few months, I'll go on there and I'll do something free. And it's fun because it's like everyone gets to communicate, but it's through, a little text box, it's through
Hmm.
like they show their art, we comment on each other's art, it's supportive. It's a really safe group. I love it. But it came to a point like right before COVID started where I was like, I want to see people. Like I feel like I'm talking to the nowhere's land. Yes, I let some, people chat through the text, and I'm just like, this isn't as much fun as you think it is. I need to like, I need some
Hmm.
engagement. So what I
Yeah.
did was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a couple times a month. Let's meet up. I'll call it the Creative Soul Society, and it's a
Mm.
paid membership. So in the paid membership, we meet a couple of times a month where we create art together. And a lot of times we'll create art from my books. I'll do that, or I'll have a guest speaker. They'll come in like a guest artist or an art therapist. So the group is a mix of artists. It has art therapists. It's more about like coming together to talk about like what it is that you want to manifest, like what are you working on, and everyone has their own styles. I'm not like an art teacher. I think everyone, you just do you. I'll just give
Hmm.
you some guidance of what the theme is for the day, and then we meet for an hour, and it's awesome because we get to see each other, we get to talk, we take turns talking. At the end, we share art, so everybody has an opportunity. So I've been growing that group as well, but I really felt that that was important for me to see people, and just to be in community, and to I love Zoom. I think Zoom's
Hmm.
amazing. So yeah, that the Creative Soul Society is the paid membership. It's like $25 a month. It's not even that much, but it's just a
That's wonderful.
evolving, yeah, just a safe space. So I'm always
Hmm.
asking them, what it is, what do you need this month? What are we going to work on? So actually for May, we got the ideal day coming up of drawing that. We have an art review where it's like a safe
Mm.
critique group where we're going to have 4 of the artists share their work, and then we're going to, talk about their work so they can dive deeper and, um, reflect on what's going on.
I
So
love that.
yeah, it's a fun space. Yeah.
Yeah, and incredibly accessible. $25 a month. That is a great opportunity to be in community twice a month creating. I feel like it's different to create in community than it is to create alone. And it's nice, it's nice to be alone, but it's nice to be able to create together and to share. And there's so much inspiration that comes when you're creating with other people and watching other people's process too. So it's an awesome resource for people. So if they want to join either your free group or become a Creative Soul Society member so they can create art and community with you, how can they find that? Is that just, would the Creative Soul Society be on Facebook, or is that something to sign up to your website?
Yeah, so the Creative Soul Society, that membership is on my website. That's there. And then the free group is on Facebook. It's called Creative Soul Online Retreat. So yeah, so I'm just usually just posting like inspirational stuff. And then like I mentioned, like every few months we'll do like a little gathering.
Love it. Okay. I'm going to put that in the show notes too for people.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, is there anything else that you would feel comfortable sharing for other creative therapists that are wanting to bring their voice out into the world and make an impact, but maybe they haven't yet taken those steps and they haven't yet taken action to start to do that? What's one thing that you would be willing to share that might encourage them to take that leap?
I know it's a big leap.
It is the first time you take it.
Yeah. I think it's just, committing to yourself that you're going to do it and show up and start sharing the message of how powerful this work is. There needs to be more of us speaking up and saying how art is healing, how it's going to benefit you so that people can, take their risk and try it and be like, oh yeah, this is amazing. Right. And we have so
Mhm.
much knowledge and so much power, and it's like, let's share it, and no one's going to know. It's like you're almost being selfish by not sharing. Right. So it's like,
Mm.
share the love, show up, and like let the ego get out of the way, because it's not about you. It's really about you're doing it for them. Like you're doing it like as a gift. You're just letting them know how beneficial it can be, to bring that into their life. And no one's going to know until you do it. And I think that's what's been feeding me. And it really has.
Mm.
I always feel nurtured when I have the Creative Soul Society membership. Like when I do that, and when I meet, I'm like, oh, that felt so good. I'm so happy I went. It's just, I feel good,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's just about, the more that you do it, it's going to feed you, and it's going to light you up. But just getting started, right?
No, I love that. Yeah. Taking that first step is hard, but it's worth it. And sometimes we need to reframe how we're thinking about it. And you provided a really beautiful way of thinking about the purpose, focusing on the purpose, the why behind the work, and letting that be the reason to move past fear and take the leap. Beautiful.
Be consistent too. That's another thing. But a lot of times people are like, I'll just do it one time. I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Keep showing up.
It's true that can
Mhm.
be challenging, but it's essential, right? Essential to build. If you want to create anything, you have to be consistent and showing up and marketing and putting your energy towards what you want to create. It won't happen if you're not doing that.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I have like my Facebook group, is so that I can show up for them, right? And show up
Mm,
and share the love, right?
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I am so grateful for your time, and I love watching your process and how things have been evolving and all the things that you're always creating and sharing with the world. And I'm just grateful that you wanted to come back and talk about your new work today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Raina. I love that you're sharing the love and sharing the light as well. This is an amazing podcast. And yeah, I'm definitely going to share it with my community.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And I hope that, your book and the deck get into the hands of all the people that really will benefit from its messages and gifts. Um, yeah. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Creative Psychotherapist Podcast with today's guest, Leah Guzman. She is the author of The Art of Healing and Manifesting Creative Exercises to Living an Abundant Life. And if you enjoyed the conversation and you want to learn more about Leah, you can get a free visualization exercise that she has for people by going to her website. And that would be Leah Guzman, LeahGuzman.com /true-u-visualization-opt-in. And you can get a free visualization exercise from Leah. And of course, you can check out all of the amazing things that she's doing at www.leahguzman.com. And if you want a link to check out her Facebook group, Creative Soul Online Retreat, I'll have that link in the show notes. And so you can check that out in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Creative Psychotherapist. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. For show notes, downloads, and additional resources, head over to the website at www.creativeclinicianscorner.com.